What's up, legends? Peter here from Pear Markets, and welcome to another episode of Wavematics Weekly Forecast. In this week, we are going to look at the trade alerts we are going to get and profit from in the course of the week, and we are also going to review some of our trades we analyzed and took last week so that we can learn from it. So now we are going to start with the dollar index and at the same time look at gold and some major dollar pairs as other profitable setups requested by our wonderful community. So now with the dollar index, we are having a 5-wave down. This is a count one. I'm having 2 count, but for the purpose of today's analysis and this week's setups, this is what we'll be focusing on. So with this one, we are seeing a wave 1, a wave 2, wave 3, and I'm seeing this as an expanding flat forming. So we've had a 3-wave for A, another 3-wave for wave B, and I'm looking forward for a 5-wave down for wave C, something like this. Then we will start looking for a buy setup once we get into this particular fib zone. So now what we are looking for this week is, once you get any pullback, you can start looking for sell setups. But if you are looking for the long term, then wait for it to really come into the zone and see if you can get a buy, any reversal signal, or you can wait for the first impulse to start, look for the corrective wave, then you buy for green wave 5. For the next pair we are going to look at is gold. With gold, we shared this particular setup last week, and let's do a review of it. Last week we were here when we had this particular move down, then this corrective move. We were looking for a corrective move and decided that, okay, once later I updated in the course of the week that when we get a breakout from the trend line, then we will start looking for a correction and sell at the end of the correction. That is why we don't sell breakouts of trend lines and channels. We always look for correction. And look at what happened. As the market was now consolidating, we just have a move up one more time. So because the correction is not complete, you will not really sell this particular market. Then once we got the market, I remember last week someone asked in the Facebook group that we did not have divergence between at this side for this wave, yellow wave 3, and I told him that divergence is just a guide. So sometimes when you don't have it, still the market can move. But in this particular case, now we went up, and currently we are having a divergence on it, and we've had another similar scenario of another move up. So the same way you join your trend line, wait for it to break below the trend line and look for correction on the lower time frame. Once we get that one, you can start selling for green wave 5. We are having 2 scenarios, so I'm going to analyze the other scenarios to you so that you know how to play both sides. With our alternate count and scenario, now we are looking this as this wave 5, as the impulsive wave has finished this side with 1, 2, 3, then the wave 4 being choppy, but I was able to deduce a W, X, and Y, with wave Y being a triangle of an A, B, C, D, E at this side. And now we've had another move up, so the same impulsive wave we have for the primary count, we are having that same impulsive way, with wave 4 being a contracting flat. So now with that one, we are having this impulsive move down. So the scenario is the same for the trading of it, but now with this one we are looking at, okay, if this is a wave A, then when we get a breakout and get a sell setup that we are looking for, when it gets to this particular zone, the 50 to 61.8 fib zone, you have to be very careful and watch price reaction to it, because price can go up one more time to give us a wave C. So now what you'll be doing is, once you get a sell setup and you get to this zone, then you have to manage your trade very well, because as soon as we get a break below the zone and another corrective setup, then we can know that we can discount this alternative count and look for a down move to complete the primary count that we discussed. Our next pair we are analyzing is the Euro USD. With the Euro USD, now we've seen that I did share 2 counts, and this is what we are concentrating on this week. we have a wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3 is under play, and we are having a 1, 2, 3. So I'm seeing this whole correction as a kind of a bigger expanding flat playing out, something like this, or it can go above even to give us an expanding flat. So now we've had an A, B, so yellow wave C is under east way. So once we get any corrective move, we will start looking for buy setup. So once you get to this particular level, it can extend to give you an expanding flat, but it cannot be above this particular invalidation level, because wave 4 cannot end in the territory of wave 1. So now once we get that one, when you buy and it gets to this particular zone, you have to manage your trade very well. But as soon as you start seeing any reversal signs, like any sharp move down like this and divergence being in play, start looking for corrective moves. Then we will sell the market to the downside. The next pair we are going to look at is USD Japanese yen, and with that one I'm going to show you all my 2 counts that I'm tracking. Last week I really updated this chart and posted it whilst we were waiting for this particular breakout of that time. But the counts, the labeling that I did that time, I really made a mistake on the triangle. You see, guys, let me tell you something. You are in the market to make money, not to prove a point to anyone. So that is why I always draw your attention to when I make mistakes, to make you know that it is normal. No matter how good you are in the market, sometimes you make genuine mistakes, especially with Elliott wave and with labeling. But as you keep on trading and as you reanalyze it and you see it, you just go out. Though the forecast was not a mistake, but it was this particular triangle. I was looking at a triangle like this. I think this is what I posted. And I labeled as a wave C, and a wave E here, which made it surpass the end of wave B. I was trying to look at maybe adjusting it just to prove that, okay, the triangle is correct, but I look at the whole scenario and it was rather better for me to reanalyze the whole thing and make this WXY for wave 4 and this whole thing as an ending diagonal. So this is how we are going to handle it this week. So don't be afraid to share your charts when you make mistake. I can tell you that, or even the experts that we've seen that have been in the market for decades, still sometimes you will see mistakes in their charts. So it's normal. That is why I'm sharing it to you, so that you will know that it is not like you are not in for any perfection when it comes to labeling, but what you are in for is to make money from the markets, and that is what we are all up to. So now that we got a breakout from this particular ending diagonal that we were looking at, now this can be our wave 1. So we are expecting at least a 3-wave correction for a wave 2. So once you get to the 50 and 61 point fib zone, we will start looking for sell setup. You know, see that this is wave C for this particular count. So with this count, if we get a sell setup, there is a possibility of price going very far into the sell, the downward trend. But with the other scenario, let's quickly look at the other scenario and see how we are going to balance our analysis. With the other scenario, I'm bullish on the dollar yen, but still we are still having a sell to really look for before the bullish count. So I'm looking at this as a wave A, and this holds in as an ABC for either for an expanding flat. So with the wave B, now this breakdown, because the other one we looked at an ending diagonal, but this one, because it's a wave B, we need a 3-wave pattern. So an AB, then the wave C being an ending diagonal. So all of them, the entry was the same here. So as I did said, we are still looking for the 3-wave pullback. Then now we will start looking for sell setups. So when it comes to this one, once you get the sell after the correction, you have to really use this count to manage the trade of the primary count, because price can reverse from this zone and go upwards. So with that, we will get something bigger, like an expanding flat like this. So I'm giving you this scenario so that you know how to manage your trade. But as it stands now, once for this particular week, I think this is the trade we are going to get. The sell trade is what this whether it's going to break it. But there are some weeks the markets can be very volatile, and before even Wednesday, by the time you realize the market will even break this one. So you getting both scenarios to make you know how to manage your trade very well. With the Aussie dollar, last week we were at this side, so I did forecast that we are going to get this move up for wave 4 and another move out for wave 5, and the market really played out as we really discussed. And now we are now looking at what is happening this week. There is a question mark on my wave 5. Whenever I put a question mark on any of my labeling, it's telling you that I'm not very certain that this is the end of wave 5, because price can still get a chance of maybe coming down to test the channel before going up. So once we are playing it out that way, now what we are going to look is, once we have this move up, the market structure is the most important thing. So once we have this move up, if we get any corrective move, we are going to buy again for this particular market. But watch these particular zones. When it gets to this support zone, you have to watch it very well. Once the market gets there, because the market can return from there before it moves, and we'll make this side an a wave 4 of an A, B, C here before we get wave 5 here. And in this particular count, you see I'm looking at a true scenario. It's either an ABC or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it is an ABC, the market can move straight up and go like as it was happening. But if it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so once it break this particular, once we get anything like this and it break this trend line, then we will focusing on an ABC correction, like this being an ABC. But should in case the market makes its correction like I was talking about, then it's showing us that we had a very long run for the uptrend. So maybe the corrective wave, though we are in the wave A of the corrective wave for this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's gonna go deeper. So now watch this particular trend line. But for trading purposes this week, just look for your correction and start looking for your buy. Then you manage the trade. I also keep updating the charts so that you know how it plays out. Yeah, with the pound dollar, this is the scenario that I'm looking at it. This whole thing looks like a whole choppy kind of thing, and I'm looking at it as a wave 4 triangle. So this side being an A with a running flat for wave B. Then now we had a wave C, and now we are seeing this 3-wave move. So that being a wave B. Then I'm expecting another move down for a wave E. Then we go up. So this is how you are going to trade it. Now we are not very certain whether the wave D is finished. So if you get any pullback, you can scalp this particular move up. But once you start seeing a reversal sign, then that means wave E is in play. Then you start looking for your buy setup, waiting for the wave E to complete. Then look for your buy setup. So with that, the end of the wave D will be your bullish confirmation level. But as it stands now, there is also this scenario that this whole thing can be like a contracting flat for wave 4. So if this thing should move up and break this particular and give us a correction like this, then that means this is the end of the wave 4. That's I've put in a question mark. Is an alt count I'm tracking at. So as it stands now, wait for your corrective move, then you scalp the buy, or you wait for this whole triangle to play out. Should in case it's a triangle, then you look for a big buy setup for the blue wave 5. Our next pair that we will be looking at is the USD Swiss. Last week we really did analyze. I think for some weeks now we've always been looking at this. That if you remember, we predicted this breakout that we are going to have our wave 5. We did have it. Last week we had this move up, and I told you that wait for the correction to finish, because this correction has started. Then we will start looking for a sell setup. So when this trend line broke, that was where I was getting a confirmation that we are going to get our sell setup. So we really had a wonderful time, a very sharp move up. And this particular fib zones were last week, if you watch the video, you see I was still looking at these fib zones. So now that we are getting this particular corrections, there is a possibility of price going up to give us an ABC and give us a one more down. So if we get any sell I'll not much be interested if the market comes straight down here, but if I get a pullback up, I'll start looking for the sell. And when it gets to the fifth zone, then I'll start looking any reversal signs I get, I'll start looking for buy setups to the upside. The next pair that we are looking at is the USD card. Now I'm looking at a wave 1, 2, 3, and this whole big thing being a wave 4. So now I'm looking at an expanding flat for an A and an ABC for wave B. So now when we get any move, we will start looking for a sell setup like an expanding flat. But don't forget, once it's a wave 4 triangle, it can develop into a wave 4 pattern. It can develop into a triangle, but this is the likely scenario I'm looking at. So in this particular week, the most important thing is once we get any pullback for a correction, we will start looking for sell setups for like a trend continuation for this particular one. If we get a nice 5 wave division, then that means it is a flat playing out, because in triangles you always get a 333, but with a flat, an expanding flat, you have a 335. So that is what we will be looking for in this week. So now look for your pullback and sell at the end of the correction. The next pair that we are looking at is the pound yen. Last week I think we were looking at the wave 4 being here. So when we had this impulsive wave up, we were looking for this to be, when we had this correction, I saw this correction, but I was looking at it of it being a wave 2 so that I can get a move up. I did not get a move up. It really helped my sell though, and once we made a lower low, I readjusted my account to a WXY for the wave 4 being here, and now we've had another we've had another move up. So now what we are looking for is to get a corrective wave. So once we get a corrective wave, we will start looking for buy setup. So once it breaks this particular white dotted trend line, then it's telling you that this particular pattern is complete. So just like it happened last week, when the correction is happening, it can give you another lower low. So yours is to wait for the correction, then you are good to go. Once it breaks through this trend line too, you can wait for the correction, then buy the setup for blue wave 5. Our next chart is Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, we've been tracking this particular account for some time now. Last week I did mention, when we had this W, that the wave X might be here, but there is a potential of it giving a 3-wave move to the downside for the wave X, and that is what really happened. So once that happened, I joined it with my trend line, and the trend line supports, the channel support line of the trend line really acted well. So now we are now having this particular move. So now as price can stay within the channel for some time for a corrective move. So what we are waiting for is to get a breakout from the channel. So once we get any corrective move, then we will look for buy setups to complete this green wave Y. Then after that, we will start looking for reversal signs within this support and resistance zone. Then price is going to go very down to maybe around 24-25 zone for this blue wave C. So as it stands now for this week, we are waiting for price to move out of this particular channel. Then we will start looking for our buy setups for the short term. Then after that, we will start looking for reversal signs to get a bigger sell for the wave C. The last pair that we'll be looking at is the Aussie Swiss. I did not really plan of even analyzing this particular pair this week, but one of our active members in the Forex and Crypto Legends Facebook group, JLT, really did ask for it, and I told him I'm going to have a very quick look at the structure for him. Now last week, this channel was there last week, and when we have this move up, last week we were looking for the corrective move that we should look for a breakout. And you know, as I always do say, we don't trade breakout of channels and trend lines because there is a breakup. Always you have to look for a corrective move, then we buy the corrective move. No, we don't just buy the breakout. So now last week when it break out it broke out of this particular channel. It was on my watch list. I was watching it and see what happened. As I was waiting for the corrective move, then the price gave us a very sharp move down. So assuming if you enter the buy because there was a breakout, you can see that you'll be on the rock side of the trade. But if you waited enough for a long confirmation, then it will tell you that you don't need to be in the trade at all. So once we get a sharp move, and as always, any sharp move, there's going to be a correction. So when we got the correction, when this price was lagging at this side, and when we got the corrective move, I discarded my bullish bias and now starting looking for sell, because there's been a sharp move, there's been a correction. It's not about always the labeling that you are labeling. You have to trade what is happening on the market, not what you think. So now this was the scenario. I was looking at a breakout for a bullish scenario. The market is always right, and it proved me wrong that okay, no, we want to come down first before we go. So as a trader, my duty in the market is to make money. So I have to quickly put my ego aside, then come back and look for my sell setup. So once I sold below this low, we had a very nice move down. Then what happened was this particular trend line, the channel support of the trend line really acted very well. Price hit on it and bounced off. So this particular week, as we've had this bounced off, what we are looking for is for the impulsive move to finish. Once we get any corrective move in the lower time frames, then we are going to look for our buy setup. When it gets to this particular channel again, as it stands now, even now this channel is not valid again, but for the purposes of explaining it to you what happened last week, that is why I left it there. So because we don't cut candles when we are drawing our trend lines and our channels. So now we will start looking at something like this for the new trend line or the channel that we will be drawing from the top to this particular side, because now we don't need to cut the candles. So once price get to this particular side, watch how it's going to react it, whether we are going to have one more drop, or when we get a breakout from it and we'll start looking for a corrective move, then we will buy for green wave 5. So thank you guys very much for being with me once again. And if you have any other pairs I did not cover, let me know in the comment sections, and I'm going to do justice to it in the course of the week. So have a very successful weekend. May the markets be with you.